let's talk about how to word our conclusions. Once we calculate our interval and get that lower bound and upper bound, how do we make this conclusion so that it contains all the information that we need to, and to make sure that we're not stating anything incorrectly? So some pieces that go into our confidence interval conclusions. First thing we should always state is our confidence level. So when we calculate, we're always going to have some percent confidence. With our example we just did, we had 95% confidence based on the z-score we used. We're going to see other levels come through, but you have to state it in our conclusion. We couldn't have stated this as just 43.1% to 46.88% of all HR professionals use blah, 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 because we're not 100% sure. If we leave that out, it's stating it as a fact, and we have to keep in mind there is a chance that we're incorrect. So when we state our confidence level, while we're 95% confident this is true, simultaneously we're also saying the percent chance that we're incorrect. We're 5% chance that this isn't actually capturing that population proportion. So we have to state that confidence level. Another part that's going to be in there is your range of values once you get that lower bound and upper bound. And as we're working with these proportions, make sure you use that percentage form, just because that's how we speak more day to day. We talk in percentages instead of decimal proportions. It wouldn't be incorrect to use the decimal form, but it's more common to use the percentages. So we're going to state that range of values. And then another key piece is a description of our population proportion. Because with all of this together, what we're trying to do with these confidence intervals is, with a certain confidence level, we get a range of values, a lower bound and upper bound, for what's happening in the population, all based on the sample data. The whole point is, given some sample information, how do we get to this range of values that estimate what's happening in the population? With that said, these three pieces make a perfect conclusion. We have that sample data, like that sample of 0.4499, but that number should never come up in our actual conclusion, because the whole idea is to use a sample to estimate a population value, and all we want to talk about is what's happening in the population. They don't need to know about the calculations that we went through in the conclusion. So in the conclusion, never mention the sample, because it was just a stepping stone to getting to this range of values, but other than that, we don't need to talk about it. The whole point is getting to this estimate for what's happening in the population. So we have down here are a few different ways to describe the conclusion up above, and I know I wrote the conclusion already, but let's talk about what's good and bad about all of these. So they're rounding that 44.99% to just 45%. So this first one, they're just saying 45% of all HR professionals use social networking sites to research job applicants. So here, that's our value from our sample. So that's our sample proportion. And they're extending that to all HR professionals. So they're basically saying our sample value is our population value. They're saying P hat is P, but that's not true. Very rarely will our sample proportion be exactly equal to our population proportion. It can happen, but pretty rarely. So with that, this does not work. This doesn't get close to the idea. We're missing a confidence level, we're missing a range of values. They do describe the population, but just incorrectly. So this doesn't work for a conclusion for what we were trying to find. It is probably true that 45% of all HR professionals, saying it is probably true starts to kind of get at the idea of a confidence level, but it's vague. There's no exact confidence here. We don't know how confident they are. And then they're doing it again where they take that sample proportion and say it is the population proportion, which we can never do that. So this also no good. Here, we don't know exactly what proportion of all HR professionals use social networking sites, but we know that it's between those two values. So this gets better because now we have a range of values that matches what we found up above. So you get a range of values. You get a range of values for the population proportion. The only thing missing here is a confidence level. And actually within the wording, it does give us a confidence level by saying we know that it's between those two values. That's stating the idea of 100% confidence, which we do not have. Using our formula to get these values out, especially that z star value, which got us there, was all about being 95% sure. We're not going to have 100% confidence here. So no, that does not work. This next one's very similar. It just changes it to, but it's probably between, and that gets better because it allows us to be incorrect, but it's too vague. It's a vague confidence level, so that doesn't work. This last one, we are 95% confident between those percentages of all HR professionals. This one is perfect. It matches what we talked about up above. We have our confidence level, we have our range of values, and we put it in terms of our population. So whenever we find these confidence intervals, you want to be sure you have those three pieces in there, and just make sure there's no talk about our sample value. Shouldn't be showing up in there.